Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Unseasoned Reviews. My name is Frank, joined again by my sister Danielle next to me and Victoria on the camera over there.
Hi, everyone.
Now, normally we would talk a little bit about what's going on, but we've spent the last 2.5 hours kind of figuring out how we wanted this podcast to go because we were, again, reviewing another book. So I think we might as well skip that for now and get on to talking about the book, unless you guys have different ideas.
Well, are you going to say the title of the book?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I just wanted to make sure there was nothing that we need to talk about. Although I will say Danielle is going to be taking a little girls trip next week, so the episode will be out a little bit later than we'd like. But we will get to talk about that, see kind of what trouble she gets up to. So hopefully she goes to jail.
Oh, no. I will be calling you, though, not Jason.
Okay, I'm cool with that.
Please spare me.
Yeah, take my credit card, and you're going to send money. All right, so we did end up reading a new series. Like I said, it is The Chronicles of the One by Nora Roberts is the series name. And the first book is Year One. So that's what we read this week. Crazy book. It's very good. Just to give a little summary of kind of what it's about without giving away too much, it's going to be in kind of end of the world type of series, also with magical abilities in people. And some people don't have magical abilities. Not everybody does. And kind of how the survivors of the remaining world, in the post-apocalyptic world, kind of how they band together and what kind of happens, and the people figuring out how to use their powers. So that's kind of what this series is about. General thoughts on it first, very good. I mean, Nora Roberts, like we were talking about it the other day, she has over 200 titles. So definitely a seasoned writer. You can see that in the way she writes. I mean, the first sentence grabs you. It's talking about the last time that the last year this person will live, and how basically the entire world is doomed. So instantly you're hooked right away. But I definitely liked it. I mean, I'm all about magic fantasy, obviously, from our last series we read. And not too slow of a book. I mean, she's jumping around a lot. She's getting into a lot of stuff. I mean, this was a good read, and definitely different than our last series by Peter Brett.
Yeah, really good. Lots of different characters like Peter Brett, but very different story. I love it. I can't wait till we get to the next one.
Mm-hmm. She said there's lots more intimate moments that she wants to read.
Did not
Weird.
say that. It's good. Really good book.
And you're the one who said you wanted to go to jail.
It's very fast as well. She has a much different writing style than Peter Brett does. You almost never get hung up on anything. It's constantly moving. So if you want a book that no matter what, you're going to struggle to put it down because you're just being pulled into new stories every single time and new information, really pertinent information, you'll love this series. If you like a read that gets to the meat of the situation real quick, this is definitely a book for you.
Yeah, I was just going to say she's very concise, but it's told in a way that you understand right away what she's telling you, where she's going with the story.
Mm-hmm.
She tells you the immediately useful information, and everything else is easily filled in just by the context that she gives you. She's very good very succinct.
Yeah, right, good.
For sure.
Another cool thing that she does is she references, since there's magic in it. Wait, did they mention? Yeah, they mentioned Harry Potter at one point. They mentioned something else too, another famous book series or movie or something.
A lot of pop culture references.
Yeah, definitely pop culture references. I got a sense of The Walking Dead in here, which my mom was a huge fan of because that's also a post-apocalyptic show, and a lot of similar ideas that I've seen in there. I've seen this book. So that's kind of, they also helped give me like if you've seen The Walking Dead, gives you a sense of like what it would kind of look like with society and ruin and small groups of people trying to band together and whatnot, without obviously magic. So magic instead of zombies.
Yeah. It definitely is weird because um, you reading these kinds of books really makes you notice the luxury in your everyday life, and I think that's
Mm-hmm.
always a really big. It's a it's something to be grateful for. I think you it makes you feel
Yeah.
really grateful for just the basics that you live
Yeah.
with every single day, what you consider basic in your life,
Mm-hmm.
um,
From warm
because
water
it
to Doritos on the
yeah
shelf.
Mm-hmm.
yeah yeah hot water. Jeez.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
lights, power, internet, being
But
able to
then,
do this podcast. It's all a luxury, you guys.
but even they have like moments where they get a rest and stuff, and it's from like the raiders is what they call the bad people, which always happens in a post-apocalyptic world. Uh, Even that, man, it's just like just the peace and comfort that we now live with in everyday life. Like even in the real world right now, right? Like we don't live in a country that's has wars going on, and it's like just that alone is just such a, I don't know, it's a blessing, really. That
It also
that.
has, the Raiders in it really give you a Mad Max feel to things a
Mm-hmm.
little bit. Just the
Absolutely. Yeah.
roving bands of of bad people that
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
you're constantly on the lookout for, and on keeping your ears peeled for. Yeah,
Well,
Mm-hmm.
and it
lots of pop
makes
culture.
you each with each person that you encounter, which is few and far between. It makes you wonder, like, what side are they going to support? Are they
Mm-hmm.
good or bad?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Nora's writing style definitely it does what a story is supposed to do, which is it invokes feelings in you that put you right into the story, where you're no longer in your room or in your car or wherever you're reading the book. You're in the story, you're invested, you feel scared, you feel wary of people,
Mm-hmm.
you feel all the feelings they feel. So
Mm-hmm.
she does a very good job of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, and also the again, just a Peter did this well too, of giving you both the dark and the light, so giving you hope and showing you like, but still hold on to your seat because you don't know what's
Yep.
coming
Yeah.
next, and also the joy in it, and some of the moments, and you're just like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, that's so cool, and you can really feel the joy and the light in the moments.
Oh,
even
but some of the
though-
dark moments, man, I was reading, I was going, you son of a.
Right.
Yeah.
It's definitely a good mix.
I was surprised by how much I felt bad. I felt shamed sometimes because of how wary I was of people. And I was like, wow, I'm even turning dark reading this,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm thinking, nope, kill him, kill that person immediately. Just get him out of the
Mm-hmm.
way. Don't have to deal with it. And you feel shamed from your feelings. And so she just really makes you a part of the story. And it's good. It's definitely
It
good.
is. There, so there's a bunch of different type of magical creatures in it too. There's fairies, witches, wizards, sorcerers,
Helps.
elves, shapeshifters. Yeah, tons of different creatures, but there is one in there that instantly I thought of as Victoria, because she always has this like kind of airy presence. But this creature like basically reveals itself by sprouting its wings, because it's a fairy, and it is like a bundle of joy, and so instantly that's like Victoria. So if you, when you read about that character, just know that's Victoria. She has a unicorn backpack,
Yeah.
and that is, if she was one of those characters, that's who she would be. Now I believe Victoria would be okay being that character in the. If you had to be a magical being in the book, would you want to be a fairy?
Yeah, or an elf.
Yeah. What about
But
you, Danielle? What would you want
because
to
I
be?
want
Definitely witch or wizard.
Yeah, I want to be. I want to be a witch or wizard. I mean, come on. It's, who doesn't want magical powers like that? But then again, I mean, the fairy has magical powers too.
Yeah.
Like they can unlock doors, and they summon little Tinker Bells around and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it's pretty
more
sick.
little fairies.
Mm-hmm. I would definitely still want to be a witch or wizard, though. That's sick. Now
I
the
don't know.
witches.
I want to be either. All I want to be is either a unicorn, or I want to be a cupcake, or I want to be a cupcake unicorn. So I'd settle for fairy though.
I mean, they use all those bright and colorful colors that you see in cupcakes and unicorns.
Yeah.
There was mention of a girl riding a unicorn in this book. Now, it was only mentioned once, but that doesn't mean we won't see one in the rest of the series. So
I'd want to be the unicorn that people ride though.
you could be a
That's
shapeshifter.
why-
There you go.
yeah, I'd want to be the shapeshifter and be the unicorn. But I think fairy probably makes the most sense for how I feel most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you seem like. That's the vibes you give off. The other cool thing about it is like the witches in it are like, they give, what is that movie called? Practical Magic?
Yeah.
Like practical magic vibes, sort of like what you would actually read about witches in the real world now, with like seances, and there's parts where they have to do
Rituals.
some rituals, with cleansing rituals with salt, which you've seen before if you've read anything about witches stuff.
Candle
So
magic.
that's it's very, it's weird almost, because it's like, it's not like Harry Potter, right, where they have wands and everything. It's more of the magic that, or more of the witch magic that you've
Calling on the elements and
but it's just like what I was trying to say is like, it's more of what we've come to learn about normally, right? Like, that's more of the normalized, actually what people believe in the real world, right? So that was interesting to see too.
yeah.
And I just want to say though that one of us is to not be trusted, because Danielle has read these books already. And when Frank said they don't use wands, I looked to Danielle for a split second, because I was like, or do they? 'Cause she knows.
Oh, I
more.
don't look
She
at
knows more
She does.
about this book series, just so you know.
Yep. She was telling me when we were talking about the other day that as she's reading this one, she's like, oh, and I started remembering what happens in the next ones. And it's like, you better understand the
She's
line that we're
not
at.
to be trusted, anyone. If you haven't read the second book, be careful.
It only gets better.
Honestly, we don't even really talk about the book series at all until this podcast. It's just today is a little different because we spent 2.5 hours going over how we wanted to summarize it, which again, we are going to get better at. We planned a day ahead of time. So we'll get better at that. So that way when we come, we'll have a little more fresh thoughts as we finish the book.
So we're doing this for you. We're trying to, for those of you who don't want to read it, but you just want to hear a compelling story or be inspired to read it, and for those of you who have read it and just kind of want to see what our thoughts were on it and how we took it and want to have a conversation, we're trying hard for you out there.
Yeah.
For both sides,
It'll be better than
the
that
light
last
and the dark,
episode.
and you know who you are, the dark listening.
Yeah, this is no longer a shitty book report. We stepped it up a couple
We
notches.
believe we stepped it up. I mean, I guess you can tell us.
Whoa. Let's not put any tags on ourselves yet.
This comes after our first series, which was that we really recorded, was the Peter Brett Demon Cycle series. So this is our next one where we came with that idea of how we wanted to summarize it so we could give people an idea of this story that don't want to read it. We believe it's not going to be that bad, but I don't know. We'll see once
we're going to try, guys.
Jesus, with some of the women I'm working with, you know what I'm saying?
I'm working with what I got.
Oh man, any other thoughts on it though? I mean, just definitely good. I mean, they are in a huge city, New York City, which is always crazy to talk about. Being in a post-apocalyptic world, I Am Legend. Oh my gosh, like.
Or even the book of, it gives me the Book of Eli. I don't know if you guys have seen that.
Of course,
There's like portions of it that it's like reminds me of that.
Yep, with
too.
the Raiders and stuff. Yep. Yeah, it's just
it's everything you could expect in not even just a post-apocalyptic world, because we're going through the apocalypse in this world. We're at the beginning of it, so we're seeing through the eyes of someone
from the characters
that's living normal society, what that downfall looks like, and
Mhm.
then the survival afterward. So
Yep.
Yeah. And quickly having to come to terms, like, life will never be the same.
Yep.
ever, never, ever.
Especially coming from New York, right? Like
Yeah.
that is,
Yeah.
you know,
We're put
city you
right
never
we're
have to
put
leave.
right in a right in a melting pot, a huge place where you're gonna get everything. Just like New
Mhm.
York already has everything. Every
Mhm.
different kind of thing. And then what that would look like if they lost everything. So
Yep.
come
Society
along for the
crumbles.
ride.
Yeah.
Gonna find out.
Yep.
Yeah. It's intense.
Yeah. Definitely so far worth it though. So if you haven't read it, read it. It's very good.
If you
Any
haven't
other
read it,
thoughts?
you need to go now because we've already spoiled a lot. So
Not
Yeah.
really. Not that
Highly
much.
recommend.
We really
Highly
haven't. There's
recommend.
we're just giving little tidbits of pieces and whatnot. Anyway, any other thoughts, guys, before we get into spoiling the rest of it for him? Giving a little
Just
summary.
look at my guns. Okay.
All right.
Everybody take one last look at my guns because everything's gonna go downhill from here.
It's gonna get
Last pretty sight you're gonna see.
spoilers. Oh, don't spoil it. Okay, so the book starts out with this McLeod family. Now they have this annual gathering in Ireland for Christmas and New Year's. And so while this is something they've done for generations, the book quickly tells us this is the last one they're having, and this family is about to die. So the men on this annual gathering are out hunting pheasant for the feast they're going to have that night. And one of the men, Ross, shoots a pheasant, and he scares this group of crows, and one of those crows goes, and as that pheasant is dropping from the sky, the crow hits it into this little stone circle. Now that stone circle is known to the locals as the Shield of Light, and as the blood of that pheasant hits the ground of that stone circle, it breaks that seal, and the end has begun. So right off the bat, she's out the gates and swinging. So then Ross, he starts showing signs of being sick, and the entire McLeod family is infected, but they have no idea. They don't know it. Only Ross is the one showing. So they're heading to the airport to travel home after this family gathering, and everyone that they come into contact with is now being infected. And she quickly shows us that from person to person, it keeps spreading as they go to different airports, and there's different people traveling around, and so this infection spreads across the entire globe. So 72 hours, Ross will be dead, and his wife is 24 hours after that, and Ross is going to become known as patient zero for this virus that is going to infect the globe and kill billions. So with the remaining survivor of the virus, we have two groups. We have regular humans, and we have those with magical abilities. In both groups, you have those that are seeking to basically destroy, kind of those raiders we talked about, and you have the ones that are trying to band together and survive. This is what's come to kind of be known as the light and the dark. Next, we're introduced to our first witch couple, Lana and Max. So Max has had a small amount of power for a long time. And he's been teaching Lana how to light candles or to levitate objects with concentration. However, when this virus kind of basically kills off almost all of the population, it unlocks the potential in people and raises these magical abilities. So Lana and Max is our first glimpse into the magical world. Okay, now I'm going to turn it over to Victoria.
Immediately billions of people are infected with this, and they're dying or they're dead already. So the infrastructure is completely crumbling. We hear a little bit about the president dying, the next president immediately dying. Everybody's dying. So information becomes just so important to everyone. But how do you get it as the infrastructure falls? So we're introduced to Arliss, and Arliss is a reporter and has a small team, and she goes every day continuing the struggle to report the news to people because she believes in the truth and spreading that truth. So we find out that she has very few sources, and one of them is a hacker. who he gets like the true details on what's actually going on around the world and in the government, and tells Arliss that it's at this point they think there's 1 billion dead. This hacker, Chuck, he tells her that it's 2 billion dead. So the government does not want this information to get out. Chuck explains that if it does, then they will come after Arliss for even reporting it. The government's trying to keep all of this secret. So what Arliss wants to do is keep providing true information to the public, and also she wants to spread a little bit of hope about how other people are surviving this, and hopefully tell the stories of these survivors. So she goes out and she wants to first she starts recording them, she wants to film them, and who goes with her is a girl named Fred. She's young, she's I think about 20, 21, and she, through this, going out into the streets where it is devastation everywhere, she's discovering more about Fred, these safe places that other magical people are grouping together and trying their best to take care of animals and people with magical abilities and non-magical abilities. And Fred knows about one person that Arliss could interview, and they go to interview this person, who remains anonymous as much as possible, but he does tell his story. Now Arliss wants to go immediately and put this on the news to give these people the hope. So they go back to the station, and they want to run this every hour on the hour, this man's story. So as they've been running it, the day ends, she starts giving the final evening report, which is basically just scraps of information she can grab from anywhere. She suddenly is interrupted by the desk that she's been working at was manned by an old reporter who had been doing it for years. He comes in
14 or something like that.
14 or something years.
Yeah.
Forever. It's his desk. That's the way it's looked at. And he comes in just drunk as a skunk, waving a gun around, goes right up to Arliss. The camera's still rolling. They want to show this. Arliss is fearless in this moment, really. I mean, she's scared, but she's fighting through. I should say courageous. This man says to the camera that Arliss is lying and there is no way the world is going to be saved. Everything is doomed, and they should just tell the truth and give up. Like, this is all so dumb. And after this huge rant, he literally kills himself on camera. Right afterward, Arliss is totally moved that she's been told by her source, this hacker, Chuck, that the real truth, and she's kept it back from everybody. She's kept it to herself because she knows that everybody will be in trouble if she tells it. So she decides in this moment she's going to tell the truth, and she says right on camera to everybody everything Chuck told her that day. And after she says this, she knows the whole station has to close down. She's got to get the heck out of Dodge. And so they give the final report, 2 billion dead. The government's crumbling.
There's no vaccine.
There's no vaccine at all coming, which is what people have held on to hope, thinking there's going to be some cure. There's no vaccine at all. And not only that, they're rounding up people that are immune to it without their permission. They can go if they want or if they don't want to. Basically, martial law is being employed. So they know after the end they have to shut down the station. Arliss is going to go to be with this hacker who's given her an out if she does decide to give this information. And now she has to travel to this hacker. But Fred decides that she's not going to go alone, and so goes with her. They're heading down they have to go into the subway tunnels because there are it's devastation everywhere. Like the roads are blocked, there's raiders everywhere, and most people don't even go out at night. They've got to go out at night, they've got to go down into the tunnels, and they've got to get all the way to Hoboken where Chuck is and meet up with him. As they're going through these tunnels, Arliss and Fred not only see the dead and the dying, they encounter humans that are killing indiscriminately, brutally. They see other magical creatures that are either crazed or they are just intent on evil. And they are attacked. They narrowly escape. Arliss wants Fred to leave her if Arliss was to get caught up, because at this point Fred, they know, has magical abilities, but Fred demands that she will stay with Arliss and asks Arliss, would she leave Fred? Arliss says yes, that she would leave her, but when push comes to shove and they're attacked, Arliss will not leave Fred. They both bond together over this, and they do make it out of these tunnels. It's terrifying though. Jeez.
Yeah, I think they described it at one point with like gore on them and stuff. It's just
they fall into dead bodies. They're hiding from these magical they're covered in muck, and Arliss even gets cut on her, sliced on her forearm. Fred gets punched in the face. And we also discover Fred discovers an ability which is to call smaller fairies to her, which at one point helps them. So they finally make it out of these tunnels, and they get a little bit cleaned up, and then they get to the meeting spot a little early, and luckily Chuck is there, and there ends what we know of Arliss. They meet up with Chuck and go back with him.
All right, so then we switch to Jonah. Jonah's a paramedic with the ability to see injury or death in people. He's actually the one that drove Ross, that patient zero, to the hospital. But since Jonah kind of has this ability, he's only seen death and doom all around him because everybody's dying. This basically makes him severely depressed, as you would imagine anybody would be with this ability. And so he kind of comes to his the point of, look, there's only one way out of this. I need to kind of end my life. I can't keep going on like that. So he's about to do it when this minivan drives up, and this woman is about to give birth to twins, and Jonah instantly sees in her, well, she actually has to call to him a couple times because he's so intent on basically just stopping, just ending his life. So, but after she finally gets his attention, he looks at her and he sees 3 sparks of life and hope, and it's the first time he's seen that in a long time. So Jonah, being the paramedic, he springs into action and he starts helping this woman. He tries to get her into the hospital where a doctor can help her, but no doctors are available. So Jonah has to deliver these babies. He delivers the babies and they come out healthy. They're very strong. And come to find out, this woman's name is Katie, who is Ross's daughter. Now, Ross is the one that went to Ireland on the family gathering, started this whole disease. Katie couldn't make it because she was pregnant, so she survived. But unfortunately, basically her entire family is wiped out. But she does now have these beautiful babies to look after. There's also Rachel that we're introduced to. Rachel's a doctor at the hospital that Jonah knew. Jonah, Katie, and Rachel, they all decide, hey, we need to stick together now. It's better to survive in numbers. Rachel kind of has that purpose of helping Katie. Jonah has the purpose of helping Katie, which gives them a reason to go on. So that group decides that they're going to leave the city as well because they heard Arliss's report on how it's terrible, and they're going to start rounding up the immune. Before they leave, they find another baby who has been orphaned. The mom has passed away. That baby's name is Hannah. They leave the city, and then we come back to them where they're at a roadblock, and Arliss, Fred, and Chuck show up to the roadblock as well and see their vehicle stopped, and they help each other to clear that roadblock, and now the entire group kind of figures out that they're all good people and that there's strength in numbers, so they band together, and now they're heading west toward Ohio.
So now we move back to Lana and Max's story. again, they've heard the reports. They know that New York is a lost city, right? Everyone needs to get out. So they start gathering their supplies. And Lana hasn't been out in 2 weeks. She doesn't realize how bad it is. Max convinces her, and they start making their escape. As they journey out, so they're choosing to stay above ground and try to get across bridges. So they make it through roadblocks. They're trying to escape these raiders that are on the street. At one point, they're chased by a police officer, but they soon realize it is not a real policeman, and they have to use their powers to push this person back and give them distance. At one point, they have to lower a bridge together. They are gradually realizing how powerful their powers individually are growing and also together. So when they combine their powers together and their goodwill together, it's even more powerful. So they are able to lower a bridge. They jump this bridge. They levitate their car, make it to the other side. It's this great moment. And then they raise the bridge so that now they're the only ones that made it across, and they escape. So they're heading west. They're trying to get to Max's brother. And they're along the road. They come across a hippie and his dog. He's kind of been a nomad. He's just been wandering the woods and he met a group of people before that turned on him and stole all his belongings. And so they're both really leery of each other because, again, you just don't know who is good and who is bad that you come across. But they soon realize they're both good people. They choose to band together, and they continue towards Eric and the group that he's with. They finally make it to the cabin that's kind of remote and isolated that Eric and his fellow college mates have kind of holed up in, and now they're a group of 8. So as you can imagine, now we have 8 people in a cabin in the woods. How is it gonna go? But they quickly realize to survive, they're going to have roles and responsibilities. So you're starting to see, as groups of people get together, they realize there has to be structure, there has to be rules, and everybody needs to play a role. It does break down. There's fights. It's petty at first. They have to restock supplies after more supplies are used than what is being rationed. And so Lana and Max quickly take control in different ways. So Max is definitely forthcoming as a leader of the group. People like to listen to him. Eric, his younger brother, doesn't like this fact. He's jealous of Max. You see that. You start to see little ways that is happening. And then, so as the supplies are used, Max and Eddie decide...
Eddie the hippie.
decide
Yeah, Eddie
that
the hippie.
they need to go to town and restock. And that's where they meet Flynn and his pet wolf in the store. And after some tension there, Flynn allows them to take some supplies. Even though Max was going to empty the store and take everything they had, but he realizes that Flynn's there, and so he only takes what they need. They try to convince Flynn to come with them back to the cabin, but Flynn does not go. He says, I can take care of myself. As they return and supplies are restocked, the tension kind of eases, but you still know something's off. Something's not right in this house. But things are eased. They have a nice dinner together, and Lana and Max are especially happy because they find out that Lana is pregnant. She's carrying their child. So Lana and Kim, the group, it's spring now. The seasons are changing. They're outside. While they're outside, Eddie, Sean, and Joe come running up and say that they've found something weird in the woods. It's something very dark, and they do not want to go back there.
We missed this first part.
Okay, so when they first arrive at the cabin, they're exploring, they're figuring out the lay of the land. Eddie is walking his dog Joe.
Shaggy and Scooby.
Yeah, then they come across a weird circle in the woods. It looks like it's black in the circle, but it's not from fire. You can tell it's not from fire, and there's just this evilness that is pulsing from this circle. Lana and Max know immediately that it's an evil magic that it is being used, and that they need to cleanse this circle. Lana is almost being possessed by this being, this like all-knowing being, telling her the right steps she needs to take to cleanse this circle, what they have to do to get rid of this evil and almost release that and get it away from the circle and expel it. So cabin fever, again, it's rising in people. Arguments are happening. Food is being sneaked. You don't know whether the being in Lana is a friend or a foe. And again, they are in a remote area. Things around them are vacant. So where is this dark magic coming from? And it's so close to their cabin, it's even more concerning. You don't know what's happening. So again, they come back. It's starting to be spring. Things have eased a little bit, and people's moods are getting a little bit happier as the snow starts to melt, and they start to realize we're not going to be stuck in this cabin forever together. There's that light at the end of the tunnel. But as everyone's outside exploring again because the snow's melting, Eddie, Sean, and Joe come running out of the forest, and again, there's a dark presence. They found another ritual location, one that has voodoo dolls, and so you can see that it's escalating. There's a stone circle again, and there you can tell there's been a sacrifice. There's blood in the middle of the circle. The smell, the way she describes the smell of the circle and the things that happen there are just all evil. So again, Lana realizes this has to be cleansed, but I can't do it by myself because it's even a more powerful evil, and she needs Max. So as they make their way back to the cabin, Eric and Allegra are standing between this group of people in the cabin, and they quickly reveal that they have turned to the dark side.
Yep. And just real quick, Eric he is Max's brother.
Yes.
Allegra's one of the college mates, but her and Eric started hooking up.
They are a couple.
Yeah.
So they surround the group in a ring of fire. They unfurl their wings, and unlike Fred's wings of happiness, they are dark and dripping. She describes them as dripping with oil and this just evil presence. And they tell the group, we want to kill you. We want all of you to die. You're all worthless. And especially the baby that Lana is carrying.
And Eric wants to kill Max, his brother.
Eric wants to kill Max's brother. Yeah. And so the battle ensues. Allegra and Eric set fire. They are shooting lightning bolts. Max makes the decision that he chooses to blow up this huge propane tank and kills his brother Eric and Allegra.
Real quick before that too, Sean sacrifices
himself for Kim. So again, it's a pivotal moment in the book, and so they know they were planning to leave, but now they have to leave. They're forced to leave, and they don't have any supplies. Everything is destroyed. Everything is in ruin, and so they make their way down the mountain. And as they're going through town, they convince Flynn and his group that he's been protecting, that they should come with them. And Flynn already knows. He has, with his magical abilities, he knows that his group is going to be one of the protectors of the One. That's what Lana's baby is being called. And so this whole big caravan leaves and starts their journey.
Back to Arliss and her caravan of people. Arliss wants to get back to her family home, and she wants to know what's happened to them. And right when they arrive, you get the sense that everything's quiet at her house, which unfortunately means that most likely her family is dead. When they're going up to the house and she's having these realizations and these fears, a old neighbor, an old friend of the family, Bill, he comes out from his house, and when he recognizes Arliss, he's very sorry to tell her that yes, her family has passed, they're gone. And Bill is it's a sad moment. Everybody's had their family die, though. It's pretty common at this point that most likely your family is gone. It's really rare that they're not. The only reason Bill is still here, though, is because although his family is all dead, he has a son that wasn't in town at the time this all started, and he's hoping that he will come back. His name is Will. And so he stayed there, and he's tried to sort of manage things in the town. Most people are dead. There are a few neighbors that are still alive, but they're either crazy or they're just very distant. They don't want to go. And Arliss and her group, they tried to convince Bill to go as they're getting supplies, as they're getting ready to leave, since they have really no reason to stay there anymore. And the only reason really that Bill decides to go is, number one, because of the babies, which really inspire him. And also, they promise Fred is going to they're all going to make signs, but Fred is going to put special symbols on them to show that they are good signs, so anyone with magical abilities will believe and know that it's actually good. They're not leading them into a trap. And so they plan to leave signs all along their way, first for Will, and then basically anyone who is good and wants to come along,
has good intentions,
and follow them. So they travel south, and they go through many towns, but for some reason one specific vacant town seems right. They decide to set up there, and after they set up, people are following these signs. People are showing up. Some move on, but a lot stay, and they end up being about 200 people. So they decide to name the town New Hope, and it's really getting settled as a town. They have activities, they have a community garden, they have a ton of things you would have in a normal town. There's some sort of normalcy coming back, and so it really is a new hope for almost everybody that's there. Unfortunately, of course, there's always a small group of people who are not going to be happy with everyone, and a common name for anyone with magical abilities in this environment, in the world as we know it now, they're called the Uncanny. And some are not, well, basically they're fearful of them, of course, fearful of the unknown, fearful of power that they can't control or have. And we have a few people like this in A New Hope that are mixed in. And, well, I shouldn't say mixed in. They're kind of a singular group, the Mercers, and they're bigots. They hate people with magical ability. They also hate people that like people with magical ability that are also just average humans. They just hate all of that kind of thing going on. This is causing a little bit of problems. Nothing really big has happened. There's been some intimidation, there's been some harassment, but nothing very violent has happened between this small bigoted group and the rest of the town. This all comes to a head, though, when everyone decides, the founders of this town, so Arliss and her caravan, all those people decide, hey, if we're going to have a town, we need to have some laws, we need to have some rules to live by, which is basically common sense. You know, you shouldn't steal from people, you shouldn't be violent toward people, and if they are, who's going to enforce these laws? So they're having a huge town meeting. They're trying to make sure everybody is involved in this. When the town's at about 200, Lana and Max, they have followed all of Fred's signs. They had about 20 or 30 when they started out from the town the cabin was in, and along the way they've picked up many more. They're just shy of about 100, so now the town's at about 300 people. So after it's gotten so much bigger, and they were already kind of planning on, the founders of this town were planning on making some rules. Once they showed up though, now they have some more enforcement, they have some more magical abilities, or people with magical abilities. They really want to get the town involved, get some ground rules set, and kind of make it like an actual community, kind of get some sense of normalcy that they had before. But they're really
going about it a nice
everyone.
way. Yeah.
They're really involving everyone. They're not saying these are the rules. They're saying we've come up with what we think is common sense. Do you agree? They're trying to pass out flyers. They're trying to show everybody how everybody is pitching in to help. When Lana and Max showed up, Lana being a previous cook, she starts a community kitchen. Everyone's trying to band together. Fred is running a community garden. We've even got like yoga classes, a playground, daycare facilities. They're really trying to set up this town. We have a knitting group, we have a book club, we have a library started. We've got, everything's going really well, except for, of course, which has to exist, this small group of defectors, these bigots. So they're at the town meeting. Tons of people are getting up to talk about how they're helping the town. And then at the end of it, they get to the real meat of why they're meeting, which is, how do we do these ground rules? This is what we think. What do you guys think? And of course, the Mercers disagree with it. They're bigots. They hate the people with magical abilities. They're afraid of them. This really starts the huge rift. But everybody's aware of the Mercers now, their thoughts, their feelings on it. And the town meeting wraps up, and we kind of move along a couple weeks without hearing or seeing anything in the Mercers, and we find out that they left. So after this town meeting, which they did not want to have anybody with magical abilities or anyone who likes people with magical abilities to be in charge, they just left the town. And everybody's like pretty jazzed about this. They're like, good, now we don't have to deal with this small group being just troublemakers all the time. We don't have to worry about that anymore. So everything's awesome. And I like what Frank said here, which is Hallmark movie, right? We're gonna get like a happy ending. Of course not. So this is when we discover that Max has been struggling with the fact that he killed his brother. No, he didn't kill him. They survived. Eric and Allegra show back up. They're all at this huge 4th of July festival. So everybody's in the center of town. Everybody's mingling. Everything's happy. They've got food. They've got games. Everybody's playing, having a great time. Eric and Allegra show up. It's immediate chaos. The Mercers come back. They've gotten more raiders. They've got, somehow there's some sort of group of people. Actually, what we haven't said, right now, right before this happens, Arliss receives a report because Chuck, with the help of Max, gets the power back on. So they've got basically like dial-up internet, but Chuck, after searching through all of this, trying to find out some more information, because he was at previous hacker source, he's trying to find out what's really going on in the world and get some interesting information. What he comes across is a group of people called the Purity Warriors, who think that all
they're going to be great.
Are the
They're
like
so
Purity
awesome.
Warriors. Don't you love Puritans? There's a print off of what these Purity Warriors, and basically I think the main guy is calling himself the Reverend, like he's a reverend of some kind, and he's the Word of God, he's the law, and he's telling all of these people, as many people as he can, he's trying to recruit as many people as he can. The Uncanny are the blame for all of this virus. They need to be killed and sent back to hell. So basically he's saying all of the Uncanny are demons, they're all bad, and all of them need to die, which is really annoying because of course this happens. When Eric and Allegra come back, they've somehow banded with these Purity Warriors, and they're attacking together. It's like the enemy of my enemy is my friend situation. And
on the evil side.
Of course, Eric and Allegra are still super intent on killing the one, which is inside Lana, is inside Lana. Lana's pregnant with. They go after her. All the Mercers fled back into town. Raiders are going crazy. They're shooting people left and right. Eric and Allegra are using magic. They're flying around, being full of themselves, arrogant as hell. And they are going after Alana. Max, of course, is trying to save her. He steps in front of her. as Eric and Allegra send a blast of magic. Basically, it's like swords, almost the way they describe it. And Max steps in front of Lana and gets hit with the full blast. He takes it, and it kills him. Lana realizes definitely he is dead, which is a terrible moment. Everybody cried.
I did.
And because of
Hard.
because you
Hard
should have.
No, she
I was
did.
so
She
mad.
said. We all did.
I was so mad. So Lana's standing there. She's holding Max's dead body, and she has a massive moment of grief and rage. It all comes out of her in one huge blast. Imagine a cry of just, you've lost everything that you love. You've lost it. It's gone. And it pours out of her. It explodes out of her toward Eric and Allegra.
I think they say
She's hearing
slashes
screaming
too.
as if it hits them.
Mhm.
But of course, we know that they survived the propane thing, so they're probably still alive. They explain them like a poop of smoke up in the air, so you're hoping they're dead, but you're thinking they're probably not. And at this moment, Lana totally realizes that Eric and Allegra are never going to stop hunting her, so she needs to leave this town of people, even though she sees all of her friends that have been wounded in some way, magical or with bullets, whatever it is. They're crawling all over the place. There's death, pain, struggle everywhere, and she realizes, and she takes the responsibility of this, and she knows she needs to run. Max told her to run. She decided to stay because she wanted to help, but she realizes or believes that by staying, she's put everybody at risk. So now she does run. She takes Max's ring, she puts it on her thumb, and she runs away from A New Hope, and she's got to be on her own now.
So Lana goes on the run. She's just basically scavenging and running. That's her entire life. So the Bigot Raiders, though, they're constantly in pursuit. More than once, she's almost caught. And she even hears their conversations where even the Raiders don't understand, who are part of the Purity Warriors, why they're partnering up with Eric and Allegra. One of the guys says basically, well, Reverend Jeremiah White, the leader of those Purity Warriors, has a plan. So this kind of foreshadows that there is something more that's going to be going on with this, and we'll find out later. But it's interesting. But this is Lana, who basically almost gets caught by them, and she overhears that conversation. That kind of happens multiple times. The entire time, Lana just kind of has this drive to survive. She pushes down all of her fears and only thinks about how best she can continue to move. And sometimes she'll take a car, sometimes she'll head in the opposite direction. She's just doing anything she can to stay away from these raiders with the sole intent. All they want to do, like Victoria was saying, is kill this child inside of her. It's almost like they can sense that it's the one, because multiple beings now have basically stated that the child inside Lana is the one. So that's her sole intent. Keep this baby alive because she knows it's important. One morning, she actually comes over this ridge and she sees this farm and a small garden and this man inside kind of tending to the garden. And he has a couple of dogs. So Lana sees like, okay, I haven't had much food. I've been scavenging for a while. I'm going to wait till this guy leaves. I'm going to go down there. Guy leaves. She heads down there, starts scavenging around the garden. Guy comes back, and basically he's an old soldier that came back home. This is his parents' house. They had passed away. Quickly realizes that this is a good guy. And he is having kind of a duty or honor moment to say, I want to take care of this pregnant woman and do what's right, especially in this world that's basically filled with garbage. So these two quickly end up bonding. This man's name is Simon. So Lana ends up trading her cooking and cleaning to kind of stay at this safe haven at the Simon's house. Yeah. And Simon quickly falls in love with Lana, but since he kind of has this duty, this honor, he pushes it all down.
He's grieving the loss of Max. And he knows that. He even has Max Fallon's books because he was a writer at her house. So he's seen her break down, and he knows that she's just grieving the loss. It's only been weeks since he's died, and she's pregnant with his child. Yeah.
So he senses these feelings inside himself, but he doesn't allow himself to dwell on it, and he definitely doesn't express this to Lana. So they do have a few run-ins with raiders where Simon has to show that he is a caring, honest, and brave individual that will protect Lana. And Lana also shows the same by she actually shows that she can shapeshift, because again, her powers are continually growing throughout this. So she tries and she shapeshifts into a different person. So they have a couple run-ins with these raiders, and they keep them all away. At one point, Simon thinks that Lana should go into town to have her baby, because there's a couple women there that have had babies before, and there's no necessarily nurses or doctors, but definitely going to be more apt to deliver a baby that's healthy than a soldier that's never done it in his life, right? But then Lana has this vision that Simon will deliver the baby and basically be the dad that this baby needs. So Lana ends up staying with Simon. On a stormy night, again, Lana had this vision that this is when the baby would be born. On this stormy night, they're just kind of Simon and Lana hanging out, having a good time, and her water breaks. She starts having the baby, and the one is born. Now, Lana names the baby Fallon Swift, and Fallon is the last name of Max, her old lover, and Swift is the name of Simon. So it's named after the two fathers, the birth father and the one that will actually raise the one. After a short period of time, this wizard shows up named Merrick, and he actually even kind of gives Lana a sense of his power, but also showing her that he means good and that he's not using it to harm her. And that's where Lana allows this wizard guy, Merrick, to come in and talk to her. Merrick declares that Lana and Simon are going to raise this baby, Fallon, for 13 years, and then they're going to have to make a choice about whether they will send her for 2 years to train with Merrick on basically the ways of magic. He doesn't go into specifics, but he's going to train this child. He's going to look after her. After declaring this prophecy, which Lana kind of refuses at first, but then listens to after Merrick goes into detail, basically saying, hey, it's going to be your guys' choice, but it's very important. After he declares that prophecy, he says, like, basically, I'm a friend to Fallon. I want to protect her. I'm going to give her some gifts. The first gift he gives her is a candle to light her way. The second gift is a crystal ball.
Which only she can light.
Yeah, only she can light. Crystal ball that allow her to basically see the future or see what's going on, show her the way. And then the last is it's cute. It's a pink teddy bear, and he basically says, life's not all about tasks, about work. You need to find joy and happiness in it, which is great for a kid, right? Kids still need toys, even if they have a prophecy of being the one. After that, though, after he gives that toy, then he just disappears, which obviously freaks out Simon, especially, who asks Lana, hey, you can't do that, right? And she's like, no, not yet. She probably will. I mean, she's crazy. But we end the story with Simon still holding back his feelings for Lana, definitely completely in love with her, definitely loves the child Fallon, but Lana kind of closes this gap. She realizes that her and Simon are going to be together. She even had kind of that vision before Merrick shows up. And she knows that Simon loves her. She can see it. So she knows that he's not going to do anything. So Lana moves forward and kisses Simon. That's when they both realize that, like, hey, we're gonna be together. We're gonna love each other, and it's this beautiful, happy moment. The whole while, Fallon was actually in between them, kind of in Lana's arms. The book ends with Fallon lighting that candle that Merrick left for her, and that's book 1 of the Chronicles of the One.
Yeah, and look, guys, that was a brief recap of everything that happens in this book. We obviously skipped over a ton to make it concise for you. So if that interests you at all, please go read the book because it is fantastic.
Definitely good.
And I just want to make one correction. Lana, Frank said she shapeshifts, and it's like she does. She doesn't shapeshift. She just creates an illusion. There are people that are shapeshifters who actually turn into other creatures or other people. But Lana can create the illusion that she's another person. However, it does take a lot of magic for her, a lot of energy for her to do this. So it's not as if she can just do it at will or do it at any. She's not Professor McGonagall. She doesn't turn into a cat or something. Yeah. No, she's not an animagus. But she can create the illusion, and I believe she will probably get way better at this. But yeah. It is.
There's a lot more.
That is very brief. Very brief. If you want to know more about magic, a lot more is explained about what kind of magics you see, the kinds of both good and bad you see in magic, which is really interesting. If you want to really get into the meat of the story, it's so good. I highly recommend you read it.
Yeah, and the communities that are built, and the strength and the relationships, it's so good.
Yeah. We also didn't say, remember how, this is one of the highlights of the book for me, I'm going to tell you. So Bill didn't want to leave that town because he was hoping beyond hope, after he has seen devastation everywhere, that his son Will is still alive. Mm-hmm. Will is still alive, and he shows back up with Max and Lana's caravan. They had followed all the signs. Will and Bill are reunited.
Yep. And Bill, like, as soon as Bill sees Will, he like collapses, and he can't even move forward.
He like leans against the thing, like his son runs to. Oh man, makes me tear up right now. I'm just saying.
But there's also
so good.
There's also some terrible moments, man. Like when they're talking about when Fred's almost attacked twice. It's just like, dude, it's heavy stuff.
We also didn't even mention these raiders. So once all of the New Hope is there, so all 300 people, Max and Lana's group has arrived as well. They go searching for supplies, and you really get a sense with Jonah's skill. Remember, Jonah is first with the group of Rachel, Katie, and the babies. Mm-hmm. Jonah's skill of being able to see death and injury, he can see the past of someone's death too. He didn't know, I don't think he knew this before, but when he touches like a corpse or something, now I think with his extended magical abilities after this virus, he can see their past and what has happened to them. They go to check out a shopping mall that obviously will have tons of supplies. And before A New Hope, before it was Max and Lana's group had shown up, they had gone there and had been, kind of pushed away by people that had guns in there and stuff. But they're all gone now. They've abandoned the place. So when they show up, they see that there is a woman. We also forgot a character. Hold on. There is a woman hanging from it appears to just be a woman. Later, we find out that when Jonah went to cut, she's hanging from, I think one of the poles out there or a tree. But when he touches her body and cuts her down, he finds out what happened to her. So these raiders, what they do, they sexually assault basically anyone they can get their hands on.
They just brutalize. This woman,
they brutalize
people to the full extent. I do awful things.
Well, if you think about it, like how Fred is just this amazingly sweet, kind, she wouldn't even harm a fly. She's just so sweet. And she's a fairy. We find out, Jonah finds out and tells Max and some other people, shares with them and Rachel, that this woman that was hung was a fairy. And what they had done to her, finally, they had cut off her wings. They had just completely brutalized this woman who literally, Jonah knew by touching her, she had never done any harm to anyone. This is how these people think. They do not see good in any of these uncanny. Also, Flynn, the elf that we met before, was out with Eddie one day, the same day that Jonah is off over at the shopping center. They're going in a different direction, and they're looking for supplies in that direction and seeing if anybody's alive. They're checking houses, because this group of New Hope, they are good people. They're still trying to find people that maybe are on their own and scared to connect with others. They're trying to still bring these people into the fold. They're really trying to help people. So while they're out searching, a girl pops out of a tree, and Flynn can speak to her telepathically. That's how Flynn can speak to people. And Star is just like him, an elf, but I don't think she was taught really her magical ability as well. And they find out that Star and her mother, before Flynn happened upon them, they were brutalized by the raiders, and Star's mother gave her life for Star. They convinced her to go back. Just amazing. It's if you really want to get into this book, there are a ton of characters we haven't mentioned. There's a ton that's happened, and
but it's definitely dark, man.
Really
it's definitely dark at points, so just be ready for that.
There's dark and light. It definitely shows both sides.
Yep.
But yeah, highly recommend. There's 2 other books to go.
Yep.
The story only gets more intense, and it's good. It's a good series.
What's the next book called? It's called Blood and Bone, of Blood and Bone. So that'll be book 2 that we'll be reading for next week. We're
Which
reviewing.
I assume is just going to be all about the one and her growing up. It's going to be great.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what Nora decides to take.
I don't know.
us
I haven't
on.
looked at it. It's sitting over there. Right over there.
I'm glad I get to
We're like,
start
let's just
it.
start reading it to you guys.
Seriously.
Awesome.
It'll be good. But thanks for tuning in, everybody. We appreciate
thanks
it.
everyone.
And let us know how you
Thank
think of the new
you.
format. See what you guys think. We think it's a little better, a little more organized. But if
We'll
you
get
guys hate
better
it,
and
let us
better.
know.
Please, if you've read the book, please tell us your thoughts. What stood out to you the most? What stories connected with you the most? What made you cry? What made you laugh?
What type of magical
and
creature
also-
you'd want to be?
Yeah, who's your magical creature?
Yeah,
you
what
wanna
kind
be?
of magical creature would you choose to be? Out of the options in this book, what would you choose? And also, make sure you tell us if you do decide to read the book, make sure you tell us if we inspired you to do that. Or if you think of a better way for us to inspire you, please let us know, because we are always looking to improve. That's all we're trying to do. So we thank you so much for being here with us. We really appreciate it.
Yep. All right. Adios, everybody. Goodbye.
Thanks. Bye.